Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Tuesday. A shocking transfer portal edition. New quarterback is in the building. So we have a fourth arm for training camp. We're going to tell you all about Eli Brickhandler, who you guys all had in your bingo card. I'll break all that down as always. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave say like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, appreciate you guys. The summer is cranking on. Again, this is it's a very interesting time because we're getting into recruiting season, official visits. This is going to be an amazing run. And we have Caden Dixon Wyatt tonight at 11 p.m. Prime time in Buckeye Scoop after the game's over. It's going to be fantastic. So make sure you guys tune in at 11 for the doubleheader with me and Caden Dixon Wyatt. We're going to do a little Bartonology and go through kind of his recruitment, what's made him into what he is, and why I think he's the best receiver in the country. So it's going to be really incredible. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave say like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. If you want to do something awesome for us, and a bunch of you guys did this today, Kim and I went out and had some lunch, and it was, hey, I love the show. Can we subscribe? I'm like, dude, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. Ton of people did it today. It was awesome. So I appreciate all you guys that do that. Kill those trolls, because the trolls leaving those 1 stars. Our 5 stars are killing it right now. So our average keeps rising thanks to you guys. So with that being said, got to bring in our resident Eli Brickhandler, Nevada. We got Eli Brickhandler today. Ryan wanted a 4th camp arm. I don't think he's going to run scout team. You got to have Tavian run scout team, but this is a kid who active with his feet. So, when you play those running quarterbacks, he could be, he can get active with it. But, your thoughts. Cause again, I was worried going into camp with 3 quarterbacks. And again, for the schematics, for people that have never been in a training camp or they don't know, like every NFL team has at least 4 arms usually. You have to have 4. Cause if someone gets dead arm, you want to rest somebody who's older, you want to, somebody, hyperextend something, you have to have a 4th arm for camp. You have to, just to throw to the receivers, do 7-on-7, do scout teamwork. So, getting Eli Brickhandler, I think, is more important than I think a lot of people would let on. He has a great last name in Brickhandler. It's almost as close to your boy Chuganov. But your thoughts on us landing a Houston Christian transfer portal quarterback who ran for a ton of yards last year? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is one of those ones where is he going to play next year? The answer is no. I mean, he's not going to. He's going to play as many plays as Nevadabuck's going to play, or if bring back Barton for one more, and we get Barton one more, you sue for one more year of eligibility for Barton. Um, that's the best chance that we have. But no, you need to have 4 quarterbacks. We knew it was a matter of who they were going to bring in. We weren't sure it was going to be. Really difficult to bring a serious quarterback into a situation where you've got 3 serious guys in it. 3 guys that want to play in Julian, Lincoln, and Tavian. So um, Eli is the guy. The kid out of Stockton, California. He will be a body. As you said, he's an athletic kid, more of a runner than a thrower, to be honest. But he's going to get a chance to live the dream and wear the Ohio State jersey and say, "Hey, I was a scholarship quarterback at the Ohio State University." Maybe in a year when we win a national championship, maybe he'll be a national. He'll have one over Barton. While Barton has the tree with Nevadabuck, which is nice. That's very nice. Not a lot of people have trees. A lot of people are national champions. Not a lot of trees, but he gets a chance to come here and live the dream and wear the jersey and run out in front of more people than he's ever played for in his entire life, probably put together. And you know, I, I I love stories like this. I love stories like this because it's not for a lot of kids it's about the NFL dream or about who's going to play what or the depth chart or how well is he going to do? Can he handle the pressure? For this kid, it's a completely different thing. This is a move to coaching. This is a guy that can you bring in a guy who's going to be a really good teammate who's going to be excited to be there and. Eli's going to be really, really excited to be there so I'm happy for him. I like it when somebody gets a chance to do something that they never probably dreamed that they'd ever have a chance to do. And this was a referral through a mutual friend of Ryan's. Got turned on to the kid, and he's gonna be a Buckeye. So I'm happy for him. Um, you know, while it's not like bringing Julian Saint in from Alabama, but hey, we got Eli Brickhandler, and Go Eli.
I mean, I know I got you a Chug jersey. Do I need to get you a Brick Handler jersey too, so you can wear that when you're walking in the stadium and they say, "Who's Brick Handler?" It's like, oh,
Uh,
that's the
oh,
guy.
you say that when you're wearing your Barton jersey all the time. Like I'm out there. I'm like Kirk. Are you gonna wear your Barton jersey again? You're like, yeah, I'm gonna wear the Barton jersey. I will wear the Brick Handler jersey. How about this? I'll wear the Brick Handler jersey if you stop wearing the Barton jersey when you go to and your letter jacket. You stop wearing those two things to games
And my
or to
rings.
throw
And
or to
I wear
throw
my
yours.
I wear my rings, and I wear my I wear my gold pants on my necklace around my neck,
Oh,
uh, and I'll like, I'll go do get go openings and go on the Buckeye cruise and just sit there and say,
oh
"Hey,
my,
everybody, remember me?" Walk around in my jersey when I'm 40 years old. No, I'm not.
oh
I'm not in
yeah.
that. I'm not in that zone, man. I just say again, I appreciate the guys that do that. It's great, but that's just not really my thing. But I think that this is a kid who I'm sure has an understanding from Ryan Day. Look, you're going to come in, you're going to help the program, you're going to develop. The biggest thing is you can network, because the thing I know about quarterbacks is like, look, if you really want to get into coaching and you really want to go to the top level and you really want to be a head coach or OC one day, like being a quarterback and learning from like Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, um, to a degree, Matt Patricia, like I think that it's something where, look, if you want to catapult yourself into the next, I mean, like look at Billy Fessler. Like Billy Fessler couldn't play dead in college football. Went to Penn State. He was the same as this. He's the same as Brick Holder. He was clipboard holder, Billy Fessler, and he goes to Penn State, holds the clipboard, does the good thing, and guess what? He catches on with Joe Moorhead, because again, the thing about coaching in college and in high, and again, this is just like in business anywhere. It's all about your network. If your network is substantial, like Billy Fessler's was, and all of a sudden Billy Fessler is going to go from being an intern who makes nothing to being the passing game coordinator for Joe Moorhead, who was his offensive coordinator at Penn State. Joe Moorhead takes the head job at Akron. Billy Fessler all of a sudden becomes like the passing game coordinator, offensive coordinator, quarterback. I don't know what his title was. He's there for a little bit. Chip Kelly hires him to be, his new quarterbacks coach. And then Chip leaves after a month and comes to Ohio State. So Billy's in limbo. But again, that's kind of it's the progression. Again, you look at a lot of guys that really ascend in coaching are guys that don't play, or guys that don't play very much, or like Josh McDaniels is like this quarterback whisperer who played at Canton McKinley. Nice guy. One coached Brady, which is great, but he's a guy that he couldn't play dead in college football. I mean, he played Division III football, which is great. Again, there's no shame in that, but a lot of these guys, they get a head start in the coaching profession, which is exceptionally lucrative right now, because they can't play in the NFL and they really can't play in college. So once they figure out that they're there and they're not good enough to play at any sort of significant level, then they really focus on the schematics of the game, coaching. Again, I worked with Drew Behringer, who's the tight ends coach at Oregon now, and Drew and I were the offensive GAs in 2012, and Drew's a really sharp dude, really good dude. He was a walk-on quarterback at Rice, and when he's a walk-on quarterback at Rice, who happens to be the offensive coordinator at Rice, Tom Herman. Tom Herman takes a liking to Drew. Drew's a walk-on, can't play dead, could never play college football in a billion years. And all of a sudden, Tom is like, hey, you should learn how to coach and sit in these meetings. And, again, when you get to a certain point in your playing career where you realize that you're not good enough to play and you're not good enough to play, the NFL dreams are dashed. And, there's not going to be a Kurt Warner story for you, or an Aaron Rodgers where you're, a 0-star and you turn into a first rounder, or you turn into a Super Bowl champion Hall of Famer. Like, these guys start sitting in the coaching meetings and they start learning how to do scripts, and they start learning what guys like. And so, if you're good enough at it and you pay enough attention, then you can rise in the profession. And like Keenan Bailey started off as an intern, went to Notre Dame, worked for Tony Alford. Tony brought him here, interned at Ohio State, GA at Ohio State, quality control at Ohio State, and just hung around long enough where Ryan Day fell in love with him and made him a full-time coach. And that's the same thing with like Billy Fessler. Like, I mean, he wasn't good enough to play at Penn State, but he paid attention, took notes. And there's the stream of this that happens. And again, like even with a guy like JT Barrett, who I love to death and is one of the greatest players in Ohio State history, like JT wasn't an NFL guy, a fantastic college guy. And now he's the quarterback's coach for the Chicago Bears. He's coaching Caleb Williams, who's the first overall pick last year. So again, like it makes sense if you're a guy that wants to get into coaching, or maybe you just want to experience great football. Because again, if you're a platoon kid at Houston Christian and all of a sudden you get the offer to be a backup with no expectations, no pressure, no whatever, to be at Ohio State, why wouldn't you take that? And because I always go back to the guys that hit the portal last year, like Jaden Ballard and Gabe Powers, some of these guys that, they took off right before like the jet, the private jet to Shangri-La took off. Like last year, those guys left after the Michigan game and they missed out on the greatest run in the history of college football. So this is a kid that I'm sure he can contribute. He can add value. He can learn coaching. He can learn how to run a practice. He can learn a lot of stuff, ancillary stuff. No pressure on him because no one expects him to play. But I love additions like this. I love kids like this. I love, this kid's played and started games and he's been productive at a much smaller level. But, that doesn't hurt in a scout team. Again, the scout team quarterback has to be Tavian St. Clair. Like Tavian's got to go in there and bust up our defense a little bit and learn from his mistakes, throw interceptions, like do stupid things. Because again, like scout team is the greatest place in the world for these kids to learn things. Because when I played scout team in 03 as a freshman, we had Troy Smith and Justin Zwick and Santonio Holmes and like this litany of really first rounders, Heisman winners, Gonzo. That was our scout team. So we had a bunch of first rounders and a Heisman winner as our quarterback as young players playing scout team. So there's no shame in that, but it's a great place to learn. And when you start tearing up like the number one defense in the country, then you're like, well, we might have a shot at something. Nevada, any thoughts on that? 'Cause again, this is it's an interesting ad. It's something that I'm excited about because I'm excited for the kid. I'm excited for Ryan because I'm sure Ryan was probably having anxiety thinking that he's going to have himself or RJ go out there and throw. If one of these quarterbacks had a dead arm or had a like a sore shoulder and they can't throw it and you're down to two quarterbacks, but it's tough, man, because training camp, you're trying to get a lot of guys reps and you need at least 4 live arms. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I got a question for you. I just, again, as a guy who's coached and was in the room as a player, I mean, how important to you, because I've seen it from a hockey standpoint, up close and personal, how important the guys that are, on the bench or at the end of the bench or in the stands that aren't playing, that they have a great attitude, that they're great team guys. How important is that on a football team? How important is guys 95 through 120, that they're good students? Good teammates, good thing. I mean, how much does that add to the culture, if at all? You may go Nevada, really not much because it's really about Troy Smith and the team leaders, and those guys are really irrelevant. Or do guys like that help kind of make a more cohesive and better fitting community? What's your perspectives on that?
Well, here's my thing. I think that when you add guys, now again, I'm sure this kid's probably close to a 4.0 GPA because again, we made a big deal about the fact that we had the highest APR in the history of the program. We're tied with Harvard for the highest in the country. So when you do that, the way you game the system is you get a lot of walk-ons that are really smart. They're going to be doctors, lawyers, attorneys. Like, most of our walk-ons are like 4.0 kids so that you can buoy the overall team GPA. And again, we've got a lot of good kids now. So we have a lot of kids that get good grades anyways. Excuse me. But, I always thought about the kids that weren't good enough to play, and I'd always try to play hard for them. And again, that's some weird thing, but like I played with a kid named Tyler Whaley. If you guys are hardcore fans, he's from Ironton, and he was my age, and he was legitimately like a 5'10" center in the Big Ten. But he was a strong kid, power lifter, squatted 575, benched like 500 pounds. But he, like my redshirt freshman year when I was playing, he would always hype me up, even though we were like the only 2 offensive linemen in our recruiting class. And he was a guy that, was probably good enough to play, but it's really hard for Jim Tressel or Jim Bowman to put out a 5'10" center in the Big Ten versus Michigan. But he was good. I mean, and he moved to fullback his senior year and played a lot. You go watch 42 in the games, like the '07 Michigan game, he's playing, we go I formation, like he's our fullback and he's crushing dudes. So, I think that you really get to know these guys that are walk-ons. And in general, they're great people. They end up, and honestly, a lot of the walk-ons end up making more than the scholarship kids because they end up being doctors and lawyers and attorneys and running businesses, whatever. So I think that it's really important. And again, it's a good part for the culture. And Trust was like the mastermind at how to like kind of game the system with all Big Ten. Like we'd have more academic all Big Ten guys because with Trust, like if you wanted to letter, I mean, a lot of you guys were high school football players, high school basketball players, cheerleaders, whatever. You'd have to do a certain number of games, certain number of quarters, certain number of plays. With Tress, who was a genius, he said, well, if you play a single play versus Michigan, you letter because it's the most important game of the year. So, we'd be beating the brace off Michigan in 04, 05, and we'd empty the bench and put in like every walk on that was 4.0 kids. So all of a sudden we'd have like a bunch of kids that were 4.0 kids letter. So we would have like academic all Big Ten, and we'd have like 50 guys on it, and every other team would have 12 or 15 or 18. And I was like, and I literally said the one day, I was like, how these guys didn't letter. I was like, how did these guys letter? They didn't even play. And it's like, well, if you play one play versus Michigan, that counts and you get a letter. I was like, I guess that's a good way to game it so that we can have the highest GPA in the Big Ten and the most academic all Big Tens and whatever. And again, like with the APR, like we have the highest APR in history. We're tied with Harvard. So, we figure out ways to kind of game it. But, when you get kids that are walk-ons in general, they're all going to buoy. None of them are going to be a detriment to the team GPA. They're not going to be problem children. They're going to be people that you can count on that are good and you don't have to worry about. And I think that's what this kid is. I think what Eli Brickhandler is going to be is he's going to be a kid that, again, you need an arm. You need somebody that can throw in preseason because, again, if Tavian St. Clair gets dead arm or if somebody gets hurt or, again, like we saw Braxton Miller's shoulder fall out of the socket in 2014. And all of a sudden, if you only have three quarterbacks and like if you go into camp with Tavian St. Clair and Lincoln Keenholz and Julian Sand and Julian's arm falls out of the socket like Braxton's did, and then you don't have a third guy, you literally don't have a scout team quarterback. So that's a disaster. So again, you got to have a fourth arm in there. And NFL teams have four arms. So it's, this is no different from what, the Browns or the Eagles or whoever are going to do because again, you have to throw a lot of balls between 7-on-7 scout team drills. So I don't know, but I think guys like this add value. I think if it's a good character guy, good fit guy, $0 in NIL. So again, Nevada, you're very budget conscious as a guy that ran sports teams. Like, if you're paying your star players like JJ Smith and Caleb Downs, like, the more guys you can get that are $0 on the roster, the better it's going to be. Because this kid's coming for the experience and to be a part of the Buckeyes and see what real college football looks like. So that's a good addition to me. Any thoughts on that before we get into some super chats?
No, I think I like I said, I see it on hockey teams, I see it on other things, and I just believe that they all have a feel, and every team's different. I'm sure for you the '03 team was different than the '04 or '05 team or the '06 team or the '07 team. They all kind of had a different you know kind of vibe to them, a different kind of leadership, and I just think guys like this, even though they're on the periphery, can kind of add to that because Tank Whaley was a guy that, like you said, was helping hype you up and inspire you, or help you out, just be a good teammate. And that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for on the team, as opposed to somebody who's maybe sulking or just kind of stays to themselves or does whatever. And I think guys like that can really make a difference. I think in organizations, I look at it away from a football team's like a nice mid-sized company, because with all the people that the hundreds of people that are around it. And you can either have a company where people are happy to be there, excited to be coming to work, excited to be part of a common goal, even if they're just a bit player, or you can have people that are there just there for the money, unhappy about their life, unhappy about the job, and the whole place kind of drags down like it's got a dark cloud over it. So no, I think it's great. I think it's great getting a smart kid, an enthusiastic kid, and frankly, with the way that salaries are going in coaching right now, I mean, we've talked about this before, but it is the change in salaries and coaching is so dramatic right now. Um, I I mean, it's almost more lucrative to be a coach than it would be to be a player. I mean, in 99% of the cases, that's the
Dude,
facts. be able to make more money coaching because one, there's longevity. You can coach for 40, 50 years. Your playing career might be, what's the average playing career in the NFL? 3 years, two and a
Three, yeah,
half, two. Yeah.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah, it's not very long, but coaching, Dick LeBeau coached till he was like 90, so you can coach forever and ever. And the way that those guys are getting paid right now, man, those are not, you know, incidental jobs. Those are not like whatever jobs. And that's why when I hear about a kid like Mike Brewster who's kind of moving up the ladder, doing the Tennessee State or Tennessee Tech or whatever it was, and now he's at Washington, and now he's kind of moving his way. It's like good for him. I love that because I could see in 10 years Brewster making $2, $3 million a year coaching somewhere because that's where coaching salaries are headed right now. And yeah, so if a kid like Eli, hey, wants to learn how to do it, wants to learn how to do it from the best. Nobody better to learn how to do it from than Ryan Day. So that's the best spot in the world for a quarterback, and he found it.
Yeah, I can't think of a profession where the salaries have been they've got up 7, 8, 9, 10 times like across the board. Again, like I go back like Zach Smith in 2012 made 150 grand. That was his salary. And now, the receiver coach makes 2 million. He's also the OC, but like our lowest paid coach on staff is making 500 grand now. So that's more than triple what the lowest was previously. And, you look at across the board, like our safeties coach at Ohio State used to make, 250, 300. And Matt Guerreri, who's 35 years old, is making like 1.3 plus bonuses. It's probably close to 2. So again, it's been explosive growth. No, the season's longer. It's harder to keep the jobs, TV contracts, everything else. But, it's a more compelling job now because the salaries have gone up by 3 or 4 times. So, again, if a doctor all of a sudden made 5 times as much money, and you're not going to replace a coach with an AI bot. So it's a gig that's going to be here forever because people love football. They love Ohio State football. They love NFL football. They're tough jobs to have and keep. And, you don't, the downside is you don't buy a house usually. You usually rent a house, or you might buy a house or build a house and get ready to sell it within 2 years. But that's just part of it. You got to be a nomad. But, like I said, I love these good stories, and I love seeing these young guys that get a shot to come in here and be a part of the program and help out. And, the thing about a kid like this is like, he's not going to be, anxious or have an anxiety attack because he's not starting. So, you want some good program guys like this. Couple super chats. The Doodah Man looks for the 10. Shout out to Nevada for roughing it out with that severe burn he suffered from the Pop-Tart. They would have put Kirk in an induced coma for the same injury in Nevada. Laugh out loud, Nevada OH.
It's
Kirk
facts too. Kirk would never have made it.
That brown sugar Pop-Tart.
Oh my God! It was brown.
Was it on like the end of your ring finger? Is that where it was? Where the big blister was?
No, it was the crease. It was the crease of my finger. It was actually my middle finger on my left hand, and it's still got this big old blister on it right now because of the Pop-Tart incident. And I've told a lot of people about this because, look, I can handle the pain. I'm a tough guy. I can handle this.
Yeah.
I'm Nevada strong. But I want everybody else to kind of avoid having it go through this. Hashtag Nevada strong.
Should we? That's going to be on the next merchandise drop, right? By the way, the merchandise drop shuts down on the 21st at midnight. So tomorrow night, midnight. That's it. May 21st, midnight is repthescoop.com. But the next drop, we're gonna do Nevada strong, and we're gonna have a little Pop-Tart, put your hand a little tiny blister like the size of like a thimble, like on your finger.
It's a giant blister. You have no idea how this was serious. This was a serious injury, and you're mocking me. You're making fun of it. But it was a serious injury, man. You would not have handled it, Kirk. You would have been. You would have been hauled. Kim would have had to come in there and haul your body out of there. They had to like 7 people drag your body out of the basement, put you in a thing, and take you to the emergency room or something like that.
No, man, I'm from the Mrs. Nevadabuck school of pain and sadness. Where if there's a tornado that wipes out half the entire country, I'd be like, oh well. Sorry.
Tough luck.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. It's just a tornado. It just crushed a bunch of people, but you're fine. Stop being soft. I know.
So,
I know.
yeah, I'm not getting a lot of sympathy at my house. I can tell you that. This
No,
was a serious injury, and my wife, no love at all, man. Nothing.
you, you would have been like Glenda the Good. That had the house on top of you, like Wizard of Oz, and like I just saw your hand out with that big bubble of brown
Blister, giant,
sugar. Yeah,
giant blister, man. Oh man, it
I
was
know.
terrible.
You'd be laying there dead with your hand hanging out. And I'd walk over with a needle, just pop it, and watch all the brown sugar
Now,
drain out of your finger.
now people are telling me that I got to butter my Pop Tarts. Like the idea
Butter
of
your
butter
Pop
on
Tarts?
that's what
Yes.
apparently Family Guy did a song about it. Like you butter on my Pop
No
Tarts.
way.
Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
heard that before, but you like Family Guy. That's like that smooth brain kind of stuff.
I do like
Candy
Family Guy.
Quacks. You you're just like, give me the
We're
dumbest
cooking.
stuff in the world.
We're
I've never heard of
cooking.
buttering a Pop Tart. In the chat, I want to know, have you guys ever buttered a Pop Tart? Because like I feel like they're like decent. They're not good for you, but they're not terrible for you. So it's like if you eat them in moderation, they're not bad. But if you slather butter on it, then it might not be super great. But
Hey,
I don't know.
completely off topic. Can I go completely off topic just for a second?
That's where we're at, dude. It's fourth. It's Eli Brick Handler Day, so you can do whatever you
Okay,
want.
okay. Completely off topic, but I want to see in the comments. And I know do not go to the Google machine. I know it's tempting, Jordan. Don't go to the Google machine. But did anybody here ever read the books, The Happy Hollisters, when they were kids? Did anybody read the books, The Happy Hollisters?
I haven't. Never heard of it.
The Happy Hollisters. And does anybody remember what was the name of the protagonist in the Happy Hollisters? Do not go to the Google machine. Who was the protagonist? Who was the guy that was always causing trouble for the Happy Hollisters? For people who don't know who the Happy Hollisters were like the Brady Bunch, but they were like a family and they were like crime solving kids. It was kind of like Nancy Drew or the Hardy Boys, but they were the Happy Hollisters. They were always getting into like adventures. And I read that, but I somehow the name of the protagonist leapt in my mind today, and I'm like, I wonder if anybody else ever read the Happy Alistair books. So I'm asking right now.
Am I supposed to guess? Even though I have no idea.
You have no idea. You won't. There's no way you could guess. I gave you Beanie and Cecil before, and you didn't know the Rag Mop. You didn't know that one either. So you're not going to
Hey,
guess the name of the
hey,
protagonist.
you gave me Myron Santos too, man. 2-0 last
I
two.
I I gave you. I handed you money. Handed you Louis Francinelli.
Oh,
Just down.
oh,
I can only lead the horse to water. I can't make you bet. That's all.
I can only lead the horse to water, but I can't make you sympathetic about a tornado victim.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, or a Pop Tart incident.
Pop Tart. So are you going to tell us the name of the protagonist, or are you going to leave us hanging for the rest of the show before I get into these next two super
Joey
chats from D Sunny?
Joey Brill. Joey Brill was the name of the
Brill, like
protagonist.
Brill.
Yeah, Joey Brill. He was always mean. He was always like mean to Holly Hollister and stuff like that. He was always mean to him. So Joey Brill was the name of the protagonist in the
I
Happy
honestly thought
Hollisters.
I was gonna go with Tracy the Cruel, but I didn't do it.
No,
I thought that
no,
was gonna
no,
do
Glenda the Good Witch. Nope,
it. Glenn,
it was Joey Brill. That was I don't even know how that information is stuck in my head after all this. That was I haven't read those books in 57 years, and that name is still stuck in my head. Joey Brill.
and that's crazy because you're only 57 years old, so you read them in like the
I,
womb when you first came
I,
out. Just like
I did.
crack.
Dun, 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 dun,
I will say, if there was one fictional character in the history of the world that reminds me of Miss Nevadabuck, it literally is Joffrey from Game of Thrones. In terms of the cruelty and the
Oh,
viciousness and the sadisticness, it's like the perfect match.
no,
He's
no.
like
When I was watching,
hit a hotta.
I,
It's like
I was watching Game of Thrones the other day for like the fourth time, and he's on there, and she's Cersei's talking to him, and he's like, "This is rapidly becoming the most boring conversation I've ever had in my life." And I'm like, "That is my wife. That is
you're like
exactly.
you're like
That's exactly
this
her.
is perfection. This is it.
It's perfection."
I I won the Great War for you. And Tywin Lannister's
Oh,
like, see that he has
right.
some essence of nightshade, and he's put to bed. I'm
While
not
you were hiding in
tired.
Castle Rock.
Oh my God, we've gone off the rails.
Oh.
He said, thanks for the 10. I appreciate you doing it with all those young stars on scout team. How do you guys do against the defending champs in practice? What would you tell a freshman to do to make the most out of his time on scout team? Okay, This is a great question. So, we would shred our defense. Now, they obviously defensively up front, they were monsters. And we had Darian Scott, Will Smith, Tim Anderson, Simon Frazier, Mike Kudla. I mean, monsters up front. So, I mean, we couldn't block them at all. But a lot of times when you can't block them, Mark D'Antonio or whoever would run they wouldn't, like, if a guy got touched for a sack, they'd let Troy Smith go and he'd throw a bomb to Santonio or to Gonzo. Santonio, he wasn't with us very long. He was with the ones, especially after Drew Carter tore his ACL. Santonio went the regular team, but he threw it to Gonzo. And Santonio literally said, and this is the best thing ever, is that when in 04, when you guys remember that Michigan game where we were 2 touchdown underdogs, he threw that bomb to Gonzo because he's like, I used to do that in practice all the time versus our defense. And it was because Dino he'd always want the quarterback to throw. Even if Will Smith beats me in a millisecond for a sack, he'd want the quarterback to throw so the DBs would get some work breaking up passes, get an interception. And Troy would just launch it to Gonzo, and Gonzo would go run under it and catch it, and the defense would get all upset. So it was really good. And it was funny because in 03, Wisconsin had a humongous tight end. He's like a 6'7", 260-pound guy. So I got to play tight end Wisconsin week. I was number like 82. And I was like in motion, running routes, like down blocking guys, killing guys. And I was a scout team player of the week playing tight end, which was awesome. But in terms of the advice you give to a freshman who must have a son with scout team, guys, don't treat it like it's B work. And you guys all know what the B word is, and we don't swear on here, but like people, they get this, oh, how could you ever put me on scout team? How could it's like being like you're like the janitor or the clerk or whatever. And I'm like, look, like, I mean, I just embraced it. I was like, okay, this is what I got to do to get better. And it's like, I'm not ready to play. So I'm going to go over here and work with Will Smith and Darian Scott and these guys and try to make them better. And they're going to annihilate me. But if I block these guys, I can block anybody. I loved playing scout team. Now, I embraced it. I treated every day like it was a game. I tried to get the guys better. I didn't take it easy on them. I was going after them and fighting them and everything else. But that's the mentality you have to have. Because once you do that versus our first team defense, once you go like into a regular game, you're playing San Diego State or anybody, like it's a cakewalk. Because you're like, God, I've been blocking all these guys that play for Ohio State that are seniors that are 5 years older than me. And I get to go play against these regular guys. Like, it's going to be great. So I tell these guys, man, if you're out there, you're getting evaluated, we're watching the tape on you, don't screw around. Don't be depressed. Don't be sad. Oh, I'm not starting. Oh, I'm not with the twos. I'm not with the first team offense or whatever. Like, if you're on scout team, go put in that work and you'll benefit from it and go turn up in the weight room. Cause again, I used to love lifting heavy in the weight room when I was a freshman because I didn't have to play on Saturday. So I don't care. I can squat a zillion pounds on Friday and I'm not going to play on Saturday. I'm redshirting. So go turn up in the weight room. Don't be scared. Because like, again, when I was when I was a, junior, sophomore, freshman, redshirt freshman, sophomore, junior, when I was playing, I wasn't lifting heavy on Fridays. I want to make sure my legs were good. My body was peak condition, ready to go. But that first year, man, I was killing myself in the gym. So I didn't care. I was like, I'm not going to play tomorrow. So I might as well get right. And then on Sunday, I get another big one in, big lift, and it was good. Nevada, anything you want to add to that about what you would tell a freshman doing the most or to make the most of his time on scout team? Did that surprise you?
No, I mean, I love the scout team stories. I love the scout team stories from when you're on it. I love the scout team stories from when you coached it and you would try to confound the other team by letting your guys, designing little things to try to confound the teams that you're going up against. But no, I mean, scout team's one of those unglorious things that really helps out guys to get ready. And a good scout team and a energetic scout team, an energetic scout team coach can really make for good practices, and that goes for any sport, but certainly in football more than anything, because football is a game where you need to get good quality reps against guys, showing you things that you guys are going to do or what you think they're going to do. And yeah, look, a good scout team can make or break a good team. So unsung heroes for sure. It's like, did I ever tell you the story about Rudy Rudiger for Notre Dame? Rudy Rudiger played for Notre Dame. This guy named Rudy, and he went in, and who he replaced? He replaced Gene Smith, the
Your boy.
future,
You mean
the
your
future,
boy?
the future
Eugene.
AD. Mean Gene,
Eugene.
Mean Gene Smith. Mean Gene Smith. When
Eugene.
Rudy went out there to play that, made that play, Gene Smith ran off the field. Rudy went in there and made that sack, and the rest is history, man. So without Gene Smith, none of this happens. I'm just
I don't
telling
see.
you.
I don't think Gene ever played. Did he ever play a
I'm
single
just telling
snap
you.
at Notre Dame? Was he a
Gene
scholarship guy?
Smith. Gene Smith was on the field. He was the guy that came off the field for Rudy Rudiger. Little known trivia. You didn't know Joey Brill. He's the guy that's the bad guy in the Happy Alistair series. You didn't know that Gene Smith was the guy that Rudy replaced. He had to replace somebody. You know who he replaced? Gene Smith. Mean Gene Smith.
I mean, the only Gene
Facts.
Smith in the college football record book is a running back from 1949. So, unless you played against him, I don't know if he actually ever did. He ever actually play in a game?
He was on the field. That's who Rudy Rudiger replaced. I'm telling you, it was Mean Gene Smith.
I mean, did he play like seriously? I mean, did he ever play a snap at Notre Dame?
He he was the guy that Rudy Rudiger replaced. I'm just
No,
telling you.
he
Did
didn't.
he did. He's told that story. He's like, I was on the field and I decided to take myself off the field for Rudy, so Rudy could play. And Rudy went out there and played, made the play, and made the sack. And he's told the story many times. In fact, the
It,
next time you see him, you should go up to him and say, "Hey, Gene, I understand." So if anybody's out there and you see Gene out there at an Ohio State game, out there in Arizona, you're trying to find balls outside the range or anything else like that, just go up to him and say, "Hey, Gene, I heard you were the guy that Rudy Rudiger replaced," and he'll go, "Yeah. How did you know that?" And be like, "Nevadabuck shared that story with me."
and as soon as he told you that story in front of everybody, you whipped out your checkbook, and you're like, "You tell me what it costs to support this program." It's like you got your
I
little
did.
pen with it was like a
He's
feather, and you dipped it in
he's
the ink like you're
he said
Tywin
he said
Lannister, and you're just like,
you'll have a sign for life. You'll have a sign for life.
you
And I'm
have a
like,
suite,
"Oh, do it."
and a sign for life.
And for
Now it's
life.
only
I'm like,
half true right now because again I know it's like one of those things where it's not really your suite anymore, but it was at one
no,
point, and it's
no,
like
but
you got the
I signed it. I signed it. Then I put my little seal. My seal is the Kool-Aid guy. I put the seal of the Kool-Aid
and
guy
you press
and
you press it,
press
you put
it,
like the red blob, you folded
the
it around
red
and put the
block.
red blob on it, and
The
you
red,
stamped you like stamped it down, and you're just like
it's like,
you're like pressing on it real hard. It's like,
so,
oh, let me make
yeah,
sure this gets
yeah.
through.
This signed Selman Bannister. Can you check that? The seal is unbroken. It's the Kool-Aid guy. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's my seal.
It,
That's a
it
seal of the
is.
Nevadabuck family. Yeah.
Is his
Kool-Aid.
check in there? Yes, it is. The check that when he swore fealty to Gene Smith to get a suite. Gene's like, I sacked the quarterback 9 times that
Uh,
day, and I said
we
I was
we've
tired.
we've got
He
our
was like,
flags.
he
You've got
was
the wolf and you've got the lion and I've got the Kool-Aid guy.
he was like Paul Bunyan when he got too tired versus the steam engine.
Uh,
He just Paul Bunyan. That's like Gene Smith on the field. It's like I had my ninth sack and I had to summon Rudy to come on, little Rudy to come out here, so he can sell hot sauce for the rest of his life and go tell lies to everybody. So
that's true. That's true. Go to Corby's there in South Bend. Rudy's sitting at the end of the bar. I'm telling you, he's
I
like
mean,
Norm.
Gene fits in it. I mean, Notre Dame is full of softies, and again, I was
Uh,
never like, oh my god, I'm scared of a Notre. Like when we played Notre Dame, I was like, these guys. And the best part ever is in '05 we played Notre Dame, and we played in the Fiesta Bowl, Brady Quinn versus AJ Hawk, and AJ's dating Brady's sister and everything, and like those guys had like a 7 p.m. curfew every night. And they just literally were like, Charlie always had those guys lock and key, watching film for 12 hours a day. And like, I don't think we had a curfew until like 2 nights before the game. So we were like wild animals running around and again, that's kind of how it was back in the day, and then it's funny in Florida, we had a curfew and we got smashed, but like the '02 team that beat the Hurricanes, like, I don't know if Trust ever give those guys a curfew, maybe the night before the game, but those guys were like Thundercats. I mean, those guys were out. I mean, they're like the Oakland Raiders. And then you look at our team in '05 and we smashed Notre Dame. And we were laughing because like we never saw any of them out because they weren't allowed to go out. So yeah, Notre Dame is not my kind of spot. All right. D76 for the 5. The other week I heard you mention Scott McMullen. Oh boy. Was there any story where people thought he should have been starting? Nevada, I'll let you go first. Do you have any recollection of the Scott McMullen versus Craig Krenzel era?
well, yeah. I mean, I always liked Scott McMullen. I always thought that Scotty McMullen could play, and I don't think. there was like serious conversation about him being a better quarterback than Craig, but I think a lot of people had the impression that he was a better passer than Craig, like a better pure passer. But I mean, the magic of Craig was his escapability, and for a slow white guy, he had an amazing ability to get yards and run and twist and fall forward, and you know, he had an uncanny knack for being able to do that, make himself slippery and get in there and get down. But Scotty Mack was, I mean, he was a thrower, and I always thought that, you know, if called upon, if we needed him to, that he could deliver, and but he would do it primarily through the air, but wasn't much of a threat on the ground. But that's kind of how I remember it. But you know, that was 20 years ago, so maybe my memory's faulty. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
I mean, Scotty Mack, it was one of the funniest things ever because, like, Scotty Mack was probably as talented or more talented than Craig. Scotty Mack was just a wild man, and Tress is not a wild man kind of guy. But Craig was I mean, he lived like a quarterback in there early, watching the film, breaking everything. You don't want the quarterback to do, staying late, breaking down film, living in the training room. Scotty Mack was not like that. Scotty Mack was like the guy that he'd show up and he was like Brett Favre. Like Brett Favre would show up, go to they land on Saturday afternoon in New Orleans. He's going to go hit Bourbon Street for a few hours and then come back to the hotel and then get ready to play the game the next day. Like Scotty Mack was an animal, but we get out there, man, and he would kill it. And he saved us. Craig was hurt versus Bowling Green. In my year, it's like, I mean, he came in a couple times and saved us, and he was a baller. But he was a wild man off the field, which again, it's fine. I don't judge. I don't care. But Craig was straight laced and he did the right stuff and knew all the checks. He knew how to say Letterman Honda, which is our check to 47, and Letterman Green, which is our check to 46. So he knew all of that stuff. But Scotty Mack was like, everyone loves Scotty Mack. I mean, he was a guy that got a mini camp invite to the Eagles when he came out after his senior year. And again, he's the guy that, if he would have taken it a little bit more seriously, would he have been a potential NFL guy? Maybe. I don't know. If you get the right system, the coach loves you, then maybe you can hang in there. Again, the thing about the NFL is like, there's a certain amount of, you have to be good enough, which is obviously paramount. To play in the NFL, you have to be a fantastic, great, amazing football player. But there also has to be people that like you, that'll like nurture you and they see something in you and whatever. Because there's guys I played with in the NFL that couldn't have played at Ohio State. They were terrible, but they stick out in the NFL for 6-7 years. And you're just like, how in the world did that guy stick? And it's like, well, he's got drafted by the team. The GM likes him, position coach likes him, sticks, and they might not ever actually play, or they might just be like a rotational backup, but they'll get 7-8 years in the league and they get those paychecks, and that's great. So, again, because Scotty Mack have been that, yeah. I mean, there's guys I played with in the league that were backup third string quarterbacks that weren't as good as Scotty Mack. Promise you. But again, I love the kid, and he was a beast and great teammate, and he's a guy that the fan base probably is largely forgotten about. But his teammates would say, like, if you ask like Will Smith and some of these guys, like, and God bless Will's soul, but he's like, dude, Scotty Mack's he's that guy. Like he gets out there, man, and he starts gunslinging, and he's not scared of anything. So, I love Scotty Mack. And Craig was good. I mean, Craig won the national championship, obviously, and was really good in 03. And, we won the Fiesta Bowl versus K-State and everything else. But Scotty Mack was, I mean, he was legit. I mean, it was a good competition. All right, Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just appreciate everybody being here. Don't forget repthescoop.com. The store's it's going to close, and then inevitably what's going to happen, I get the emails at buckeyescoop@gmail.com where people are like, hey, is the store open? They're like, the store's going to be closed. So this is your last chance to get gear. Got some great, the black on black stuff is awesome. The urban white is, I mean, this is probably, from a quality standpoint, it's our best drop ever. Some of the items are our best selling items ever. So if you're going to do it, you've only got about 24 hours left to do it. So repthescoop.com, hit the store before it closes, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And don't
Yep.
forget Caden Dixon Wyatt tonight.
11 p.m., baby. Bart
Bartonology. Bartonology
Bartonology.
tonight. Bartonology at
Cannot
night.
wait. It's going to be
I
absolutely
love
like Nick. It's like Nick at night, except it's Bartonology night. You get it?
Bartonology at
I
night.
love it. Let's go. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Any final requests for Kane Dixon White? Put it in the comments. Again, get ready. 11 p.m. live tonight. Kane Dixon White will join us. We'll go probably about 25 minutes or so. I'm not going to kill the kid, but he's excited. I'm really excited to talk to him, and you guys kind of get introduced to him. I think it's going to be a great show. So if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Again, you guys have been doing that. We appreciate that. It's been a huge uptick for us. So thank you for all of that. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. See you at 11 tonight. We're going to be coming back at it, ready to go. But I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good night. See you tonight. Go Bucks.